Let me start with a question. Did you know that in India, the suicide rate for married men is more than double that of married women? It's a pretty startling fact, right? Well, that single sobering statistic is one of the main reasons behind a really controversial new proposal in Parliament. Today, we're going to unpack the National Commission for Men bill, figure out what it is, why it's even being talked about, and what it could mean for some of India's biggest laws.
So this is the data that really kicks off the whole conversation. For every one married woman who dies by suicide, you have more than two married men. Now, the people who support this bill look at this and say, see, this is proof that men are facing a unique set of pressures. They argue that there needs to be a dedicated body, a whole institution, to look into these issues. This is the core reason behind the demand for a national commission for men. Okay, so let's get right into the nitty-gritty. We'll start with the absolute basics. What exactly is this bill, and maybe even more importantly, what is it not?
All right, the first and probably the most crucial thing you need to understand is this. It's a private member's bill. Now, what does that mean? In simple terms, this wasn't introduced by the government. It's a proposal from a single individual member of parliament. And that distinction is everything. It means it's not a law. It's just an idea, a proposal that has a really, really long and tough road ahead if it ever wants to become an actual act. So what's the big idea here? Well, the bill wants to create something called the National Commission for Men, or NCM. You can think of it as a direct counterpart to the National Commission for Women that we already have. Its job would be to look into complaints filed by men, keep an eye on how gender-specific laws are being used or misused, and provide things like free legal help and mental health counseling. The ultimate goal, they say, is to push for a more gender-neutral justice system.
Now, if this commission actually became a thing, how would it be built? What would it look like? The proposal is actually pretty specific about creating a sense of balance in its very design. The bill lays out a clear blueprint. You'd have a chairperson, a legal advisor, and then 6 other members. And here's the key part. To make sure there's balance, the proposal demands that those 6 members have to be 3 men and 3 women. So gender representation is literally built into the commission's core structure from day one. And this thing isn't designed to be just a talking shop. It's meant to have some real power, some real teeth. It could investigate complaints of false accusations, especially under really sensitive laws like Section 498A for dowry harassment. It could also watch over police investigations to prevent what supporters call wrongful arrests, and could even recommend that officials who misuse the law face disciplinary action. But it's not just about creating a new commission. The bill also gets into the weeds, proposing some really specific, and you can bet highly controversial, changes to some of India's most talked about laws. Okay, this is one of the biggest ones. The bill wants to change how Section 498A, the dowry harassment law, works. It says that after an FII is filed, the police can't just go and make an arrest. Nope. They have to conduct a preliminary investigation for 30 days first. Only if they find some real prima facie evidence in that initial inquiry can they make an arrest. And on top of that, it introduces a pretty hefty penalty for anyone who's found to have filed a fake complaint. And believe me, the penalties don't stop there. The bill lays out some really serious consequences for false accusations in general. If someone is found to have made a false rape accusation, we're talking about 7 to 10 years in prison, plus a 10 lakh rupee fine. For a false domestic violence complaint, it's looking at up to 3 years behind bars and a 5 lakh rupee fine. This whole push for gender neutrality touches several other major laws too. The bill suggests changing the Domestic Violence Act so it recognizes male victims. It wants to make the Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act apply to people of all genders. It even wants to make shared parenting the standard default outcome in divorce cases. Oh, and it also introduces penalties for something called parental alienation. That's when one parent tries to poison a child's mind against the other parent. The bill also takes aim at a very, very modern problem: trial by media. It has a specific rule that would stop any media house, any website, or any social media platform from just declaring someone guilty before a court has actually had its say. The whole idea is to stop someone's reputation from being destroyed before the legal system has even done its job. And there are serious consequences for breaking this media rule. Any media house that jumps the gun and declares someone guilty would face a massive fine of 50 lakh rupees. Not just that, they would also be forced to issue a public apology within 48 hours. So the big question is, who's paying for all of this? Well, this isn't just some vague idea. The bill actually includes a detailed budget. It proposes a whopping 3,650 crore rupees for the first 5 years, and it breaks down exactly where that money would go to the Commission's operations, legal aid, mental health services, and a whole lot more. So, how did we even get here? This proposal didn't just appear out of thin air. Let's quickly trace the journey that led to this bill being tabled in Parliament. For years and years, different men's rights groups have been pushing for a commission like this. But a huge moment came in 2023. The Supreme Court was hearing a case, and it made a really important observation. It basically said that creating a new commission isn't the job of the courts, it's the job of the government and Parliament. That one statement kind of reignited the whole debate and really paved the way for this bill to be formally introduced. Okay, so let's do a super quick rewind. What do you need to remember? First, this bill proposes a national commission for men to handle things like false cases and mental health. Second, a huge reform it suggests is a mandatory 30-day investigation before any arrest in dowry cases. Third, it's aiming for gender-neutral laws across the board. And fourth, and most importantly, remember it's a private member's bill, it is just a proposal, it is not law. And all of this brings us to a really big question, one that modern India has to grapple with. Is creating a whole separate commission for men the best way to achieve true gender-neutral justice? Or does the real answer lie in just fixing the laws and institutions we already have to make them fair and balanced for absolutely everyone? It's a tough one, and there are definitely no easy answers. Now, we really want to know what you think about all this. Drop your thoughts on this very complex issue in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown helpful, let us know by hitting that like button and sharing it around. For more such informative videos, follow LLB student Ada and subscribe us.